What's going on, Star Wars fans?
Hello there.
We are coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee. It's been a few weeks since we had a podcast out, so I know Bad Batch has started, and everybody's excited about that. I'm not going to give too much away. I know lots of people like to wait till the season is done, so we'll talk about it a little bit in the next few episodes. But again, it's so good. I think Dave has done such a good job with it. They're bringing stuff back around, Omega, Crosshair, all the Bad Batch guys, so super excited about that. Hopefully everybody's checking that out and some other stuff that's going on with Star Wars universe. But I'm really excited about my guest today. Actually, we met on Instagram and he's got some really cool stuff, and I wanted to bring him on today, and we're going to talk about his Star Wars journey along with his creation journey. So everybody, please help me welcome Mr. Chris Colvin of Calvin Creations, and here he is. What's going on, Chris?
Hey, Ryan, how are you? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for being on here. And
Oh, of
again, like
course.
I said at the beginning, I mean, and you can see here in the background, your two R2 units, your
Yeah.
astromechs, and so it's just so cool. Again, I saw you on Instagram, and I saw you going to the conventions and
Yeah.
and meeting some cool people, and some of the people that I've had here on the podcast, Amy and Chris Bartlett, which is really cool. So we'll get into that, and we're going to show some people some of your pictures and some of your stuff. But
Great.
for now, tell me a little bit about you're about my age. Tell me a little bit about your Star Wars journey, and when it all started in 1977.
Yeah, well, it actually did start in 1977. I am that old. I remember going to the theater, and the first thing about the movie that struck me was the opening sequence with the Star Destroyer chasing a blockade runner, and that Star Destroyer coming overhead. It just never seemed like it was going to end. It was just this endless machine coming overhead. It was just so amazing. And then inside the corridors of the blockade and seeing those TK, the bright white uniforms, and oh my gosh, I'm just hooked right from the beginning. And then as you can see, an affinity for the droids kind of started, and it was just game on from there. And it's been such a great journey from them, through the most recent prequels with the final three. I'll say the final three of that trilogy. Man, what a ride! I can't believe that I'm 55 years old and I am still playing in the Star Wars world, and Star Wars is still as relevant today as it was in 1977. I mean, George created such a great universe for us all, and just so I know R2, and just so thankful, so thankful.
Yeah, it is, and it's crazy because again, like I said, we're the same age, and just watch it in 1977, and us now in our 50s, and as everything continues to come out in this live action stuff and the animation, I mean, it's going to be here our whole lifetime, which is really neat. I think it's going to be cool as he continues and everybody continues. With Dave and John, now sort of,
Gosh.
holding the reins here. It's just going to be such a continuous, good stuff putting out here. So what did somebody asked me a little on one of these other ones, and I'm guessing you sort of did too. Was there a little bit of a lull time in between, and then and when did you start getting into these
Yeah.
creations?
That's a great question. So when I was younger, I was into model building. So I would build, plane models, cars, what have you, some spaceships. And as most kids do, or a lot of kids do, after they build them, they blow them up with firecrackers, which is what I did. I kind of got away from model building as I got a little bit older, and actually for several years. And I didn't start building models again until probably, I'd say maybe 8 or 9 years ago. And it just kind of was fun to get back to that hobby. But then I saw, well, people are adding electronics to these, they're making lights and sounds and all types of other things. Like, that's pretty cool. It was about that time I came across the astromech.net site, the R2 Builders Group. And I joined early on, and I was a lurker for the most part for the first couple of years, just in awe of these amazing builders, and the welcoming of the community itself was just, it was great. It was fantastic. It was just kind of one Star Wars family. And at some point, I came across a video that there was a full-size R2-D2, and I thought to myself, I need to have R2 in my house. I need an R2-D2, not knowing if I had the skills or ability to do it, because I'd never taken anything like this on in terms of size and complexity. So it was about a 2-year process to put this guy together. Lots of aches and pains, and a little bit of swearing here and there, maybe a little bit of lost blood, lost patience for sure. Um, But in the end, you see who's over my left shoulder here, and it's pretty amazing. And certainly the folks you mentioned earlier, Amy and Chris and those folks, I mean, they have been so kind to me, so kind to R2-D2. Again, it's just very much a family is the best way to put it in every sense of the word.
Absolutely, and I think like you said, just this Star Wars community, they're so inviting, whether they're actors or actresses or prop makers or whoever we see at these conventions or Star Wars celebration and stuff like that. Everybody's so into Star Wars, which is great, and I think it's really cool how big it has become. Again, I've talked about, the Big Bang Theory, things like that. I mean, people reference Star Wars all the time. So again, it's part of our culture at this point, especially at our age, which is really cool. But again, you know what, and R2 is one of my favorite characters. I think, we know, and as well as I think most people do, I mean, he's day one to day end, and he knows everything. And that's the one cool thing I think, that also keeps him sort of, in that spot. He was with Anakin. He knows what's going on from day one, where they wipe C-3PO's, memories.
Absolutely.
He can't just balk at everything and let everybody know what's going on. But R2 is such a cog in this universe. I think it's really great, and I think it's cool that you were able to do that. But also, here I'm going to bring up this picture with, again, like you were saying, with Amy and Chris, which is really cool. How did that work? Which do you remember where you were
yes
at?
So that was taken last year at Fanboy Expo here in Florida, and
Okay.
The local builders group, the Southern R2 Builders Group, didn't have a presence or wasn't going to be part of this particular con. I'd met Chris previously in Denver at a different convention, and Chris invited my R2 to kind of hang out with he and Amy at their booths, which I thought was, what a great opportunity.
Wow.
So I get to spend a good 2.5 days with Chris, Amy, and Katie, and it was just amazing, just absolutely amazing. But within that day or that weekend, R2 met non-Star Wars people. He met Jerry Mathers, the Beaver, right? He met Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees. He just met all types of people. Titus Weaver. It's just amazing. Sebastian Bach from Skid Row asked to see R2-D2, and then got down on one knee.
I put that one up of Sebastian. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I saw that.
Yeah, and he actually there's a video of Sebastian singing with R2-D2 with the song that Sebastian wrote just for Star Wars. So it's just amazing. It's just John Rhys Davis from Indiana Jones. Wow. He was fantastic. I mean, R2 has been this kind of gateway, and no matter who you are, whether you're a celebrity or a regular person on the street like me, you know who R2-D2 is. You recognize him, and he brings smiles. He brings smiles and happiness to people wherever he goes. It's a great feeling to see that. It really is, and people say, thank me. I'm just his driver, right? I'm his chauffeur. He does all the work. He does all the lifting, and I just get to be along for the ride, which is great.
Yeah, and he has been such a great character. And then so we have this the mechanic droid. So tell me a little bit about that. Is this your first one? Do you have a couple of them, or
the pit droid? That pit droid. This is one that actually was given away to a good friend of mine. But that's a pit droid from the Droid Division files, and so shout out to Dave, the Droid Division. It's a fun little guy to build. I'm actually getting ready in the process to maybe start another one of those. But now that I have a little more mechanical design understanding behind me, I'll try to animate him a little bit as well. So give him a little motion. I just think it just makes all the difference in the world if their head lights up or their head moves a little or arms move. It just this animation brings them to life, and it makes it that much more real. And that's not just a static being.
Right. Well, and again, we had Chris on here, and he talked about that, with the different characters that he's been in different things where he's like, some of the droids, they just need to move slowly, and then some of them are, different things. So I mean, that's perfect how, like you said, with the R2s and the the different movements of the pit droid and stuff like that. So tell me about this. I guess it's a prototype, or you're working on a C-3PO type.
Triple. This is in my mind. It will be 000, and I'll grab you
Okay.
The mask that I'm working on, he will turn into 000 at one point. He will become
Okay.
shiny black with red eyes. He's my first attempt at a fully animatronic being, if you will. It's something that'll be coded. Ideally, I'll have it either motion sensor or light sensor operated. So if someone comes by or make a noise by it, he'll jump to life, if you will, and probably scare my wife a little bit like IG did. So that's why IG is not allowed in the house anymore.
Speaking of IG, here we'll put him up. This is pretty cool. Now is that a full size? We just have the head here. That's
it is
both things that are turning, which is really neat.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely full size. I think he's either 7'4" or 7'6".
Wow.
I get confused between he and the battle droids. I had a battle droid as well. Yeah, he's good 7'6", and with the head turning in different directions and his eyes kind of moving up and down there at the end. He feels like he's alive. He feels like he's checking out the room, and he's aware of your being around him. And again, can be unnerving to some people, but God, so darn cool. So darn cool.
It is. And I think it's really, like you said, it's just so cool to bring that to life and, and have that animatronics, whether it's the arms or 3 or 4 different things on, IG-88's head moving around. Here's a picture of Daniel leaning over R2 along with C3PO, which is pretty cool. And
how about that pose, Daniel's pose? He even without the Boba Fett on, he still has that air about him. And Dan was an absolute gentleman. He could not have been a nicer individual, and he was very complimentary of R2, and it was a great day. It was just amazing. It's incredible that the reactions you get, and from here. I mean, I've had little kids at cons. I mean, they must be 3, 4, 5 years old, come up and just want to put their arms around R2, or they start to laugh or smile, and that's awesome. It's just
it's really a joyful thing, and like you said, George has brought that to us, for so many years now, and Dave continues to bring that. I really like this one of Anthony Daniels, standing there with R2-D2, which obviously everybody knows is the original C3PO.
Absolutely.
So that's pretty cool. And then again, we have Emily Swallow, with Chris here standing, from the Mandalorian. So again, it's really cool that you've gotten to meet all these people through that, something that you love to do, obviously.
Absolutely.
And this character, that you've created. Tell me a little bit about Pinky over there.
Well, before I do that, could I just jump back to the 3PO picture you were talking about?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That is my R2-D2 with Anthony Daniels. His hand is on top. That was taken at a convention in Denver, and it was kind of around a group of people around Anthony Daniels, and he happened to just look up at the right time and at me with my camera, and his hand was on my R2-D2. At which time I thought I was going to be a 7-year-old me and start to cry that Anthony Daniels was touching my R2-D2. Obviously, took the picture to a buddy of mine who photoshopped it, kind of made it look like the old-fashioned trading card.
Yeah.
That picture is pretty special to me because it is Anthony Daniels, and he's actually signed the inside of my R2 unit.
Wow,
which is cool. As has Chris Bartlett. Just again, amazing stuff. But the young lady on my right is KT27.
Okay.
So KT, if you don't know about the story, a young lady, the daughter of the founder of the 501st, I believe he was a young lady who had cancer. And she wanted to have an R2 unit by her, as Princess Leia did. So they'll call them out to the R2 builders across the world who stepped up and built her an R2 unit named KT. Well, unfortunately, KT lost her life to cancer. But the great thing is her memory goes on through these ambassador droids. Mine's KT27, so she's the 27th approved ambassador droid in the world. And these droids will go out to various events to raise cancer awareness, to raise funds for cancer research, all of those types of things. So KT is incredibly special and just so important. Just the work she does is amazing.
Well, and it sounds like, all the work you've done, again, like you said, and that's just a different part of it with the R2 stuff, how great is that, to have the kids smile and stuff like that. But then also to have this one, bring some joy into a young person's life that it's going to be cut short, unfortunately. But again, to like you just said, go out there, bring awareness to this, have other kids smile and love on it, at the same time, and bring them joy, from this, tragic thing that, again, Star Wars is able to rise above and put a smile on everybody's face, which I think is again so awesome. And again, thank you for doing that, taking the time,
My pleasure.
to go out and do that. It's just so cool that, you're able to do that. Have you been to Celebration yet?
I have not been to Celebration, and I was really hoping after Celebration last year, since I just moved to Florida, that they would announce it would be in Florida, not Japan. So I have a couple friends that didn't go into Japan. I don't think I'll make that one. Hopefully, once it gets back stateside again, I'll be able to go. But I would certainly love to go there. Certainly love to be a part of that. Not even bring R2 necessarily, but just go be with that family of mine from a galaxy long, far, far away.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I think you'd love it, and if it does come to the States, I think, go as both, go as a fan, but also go as the R2, and because it's so much fun there, and that's all it is. It's just Star Wars fans. It's not Comic-Con, it's not some of these other cons. We had one here in Nashville, and they're great, but it's Marvel and anime and Star Wars and and everything else all put together. But Star Wars Celebration is just for guys like you and me. It's just all Star Wars, the cosplay, again, like yourself, that the R2 units, that some of these guys are making, like yourself, and these other things that are coming out. It's great. The costumes that these people have, are just as good as the props that we see in the movies. It's crazy the amount of time and money, which obviously, by building this, it's just a different part, I think, of that cosplay. You're able to make that mechanical thing, which is cool.
Yeah, no, I got to hang out with the Florida Garrison, the 501st Garrison, last weekend at a local convention here. And not only are they a great bunch of human beings for doing what they do in their community outreach, their dedication and commitment to the look feel of the Star Wars universe is second to none. These folks take what they do with fun, but very seriously at the same time. They know what they represent. And to see those folks and Rebel Legion, the Mando Mercs, all these various clubs, I mean, it's the universe gets bigger and bigger. And to your point earlier, yeah, Dave and John, oh my gosh, so amazing that they've taken what George built and kind of expanded on it, right? Because here, as I said, Star Wars this many years later is still relevant. And my feeling is Dave Filoni, it's almost like he just learned everything under George and has that same vision, that same insight. And both John and Dave together, if you watch any of the live action on Disney Plus, thematically, it's very much Star Wars. If you look at the screen, the look, feel, it's all Star Wars. It's all consistent, and it feels like home. It feels comfortable, right? It's something that we grew up with, and it's kind of maybe our safe space, our refuge for those that maybe needed a refuge back in the day. And it's just fantastic. It's absolutely great.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because again, it's something that we can sort of get lost in and go away in. But again, the stories are just so compelling, and as they continue to grow, I mean, look at some of the characters that we didn't even know about until Dave came along with Ahsoka. I mean, Ahsoka has become this huge character. Cassian Andor. We didn't know him back then. Again, some of these things that they're bringing to light is amazing. And it's just going on and on. And even with Bad Batch and Clone Wars and Rebels and Tales of the Jedi, all these different things that, again, sometimes, unless you're a huge fan like you and I, some of these people are like, oh, I don't watch the animation or this or that. Right. But again, it's the stories that you learn about in these animation things, which I think makes these other characters even bigger and better.
No, absolutely. And actually, I was one of those person that said, I'm not going to watch anime. I'm not going to watch cartoons. And then I watched Clone Wars, and I'm like, holy smokes, this is amazing, right? And then started watching Bad Batch, and just like it's Star Wars. It's still Star Wars, and I forget that I'm watching an animation. I'm watching a Star Wars story, which is phenomenal. It's amazing. And you mentioned Andor a couple minutes ago. Andor, without blowing people up in starships and everything else going on, was such a great story.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
even though you know Cassian's endgame, what happens to him, you're still pulling for him throughout, and you kind of see some of that backstory and how we got to Rogue One.
Yeah.
Man, I so enjoyed Andor. It was brilliant, brilliant
Yeah.
piece of art.
Well, and again, yeah, because again, it's not all about the Skywalkers. It's not all about,
Right, right,
I mean, there wasn't laser swords and, or
right.
lightsabers, but again, it wasn't about that, but it was so cool. I thought it was so cool at the end, when after they've escaped and you figure out what was he doing? What was he making in jail? And it's pieces for the Death Star, it's just so cool how they've done that. And I think it's going to be great. This next season, they're dividing it up, and then they'll go right up to,
can't wait.
you
And
know, so
they've any place there may have been a potential gap or a fan theory gap. Dave and John have kind of taken that thread and stitched it all together and just painted this beautiful story, a seamless story of, hey, Jedi mind trick, a seamless story of what the universe is going on in the universe and how it does all connect with one another, whether it's just Skywalker or not. It's just awesome.
yeah. Well, and again, acolytes that'll be coming out, some of the newer stuff, it's going to be beforehand, which is really cool. But again, they're just diving into some of this stuff that doesn't have to do with the Skywalkers, which is okay. I mean, we have that story already, and that's the base of it. But again, there's so much more. And I think, like you said, with Andor, you see the regular people that don't know who Darth Vader is or Luke Skywalker or anything like that. You see the regular people going through their life, and then there's these other people that are trying to work for this cause, the rebellion or whatever, which is so cool. And again, with those the huge screens that they have now, it looks amazing, in that and Mandalorian and Ahsoka, which I think is neat because they get to bring us more of this stuff more regularly, which again, I don't, there's always going to be haters out there. I mean, you watch anything on this social media or, Star Wars stuff and people picking it apart, but I feel like there's just so much good stuff and just keep giving it to me. I don't care. Just more and more.
And I think that if you don't like it, that's okay. It's not necessarily for everybody, and I'm not going to hate on somebody for not liking Star Wars.
Right.
If you don't like it, cool. You don't have to watch it. It's okay. And for those that are all big bad fans, continue on, but keep watching. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the ride. And kind of avoid the naysayers and negativity, man. That's your story. You're enjoying it. Don't worry about what other people say about you. Just you do you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because I'll have people come up to me because they know what a fan I am. They're like, "Oh, I've never watched it before." Okay, that's okay. You don't have to if it's not your thing. Like you said, it's okay. You don't have to.
Yeah.
We enjoy it. It's something that you and I enjoy. Maybe they enjoy something else, but again, I think it is sort of a neat thing for us just to sort of to get away. I can sit down and not have to think about work or anything else and watch Andor again for all of those, or Ahsoka or Obi-Wan, or heck, I'll put on a New Hope,
I've binge watched all of those multiple times.
Yeah.
And actually, I just watched A New Hope the other night because invariably, you come across people. What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite of all of them? And I'm torn between A New Hope and then Empire Strikes Back. The kind of the back and forth. I think I lean towards A New Hope more just because that was the original for me. That's kind of what was my gateway into Star Wars. And again, the imagery, the characters, all of those things that just kind of gelled together is what brought me into the Star Wars world. And so many years later, I'm able to have some of that universe in my house. Honestly, when R2 was still under construction, I was still living in Colorado. He was just a frame and a dome on his head, nothing else. And I applied power to the dome motor, which only at that time turned one way. And I had sound in this dome would turn, and I teared up because R2-D2 just came to life in my basement.
Yeah.
And I could not believe it. I mean, the 7-year-old child me couldn't believe I was looking at R2's face and he was talking to me. It was just amazing. Just amazing.
That's all. So I know you had said something before, and let's see if we can hear it. If you can put that on the R2.
Yeah. So you wanted to hear R2 as a special message for somebody?
Yeah.
Let's see. R2, what do you think? Can you do the message? What do you think?
General Kenobi, years ago you served my surviving the rebellion. Nemesis was thought to you. My father will have to treat you. You must see this droid safely delivered to Mother. This is how Bruce gets put out. Help me if you want to. You might need help.
That's awesome.
It's awesome, and obviously he plays that at cons, and
Yeah.
the various cosplay layers come up and want to reach out and do the data card bit, and naturally that's a go-to feature that R2 has, and
Yeah.
I've had people start crying over R2 doing that. So he's remembered the line well. It's still in his data banks. It's all good.
Pretty cool.
He's happy. He's happy.
Yeah. I mean, and again, that's epic. You know,
I know.
We all know that.
He's a droid. He's a droid. He likes to talk a lot. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Behave.
Well, again, dude, thank you so much for coming on here. Again,
Oh my gosh.
your stuff is so cool. Again, we're gonna put it up here. It's Calvin Creations, correct?
Yeah. Colvin Creations.
Calvin Creations. And I know we have you have an Instagram. Do you have anything else that we can put up here? Facebook or
so I have a personal Facebook that I put some of my droid stuff up, but Colvin Creations on Instagram is kind of my go-to. I don't know that I'm hip enough for TikTok and all that stuff just yet, but I may have to look into it to see how things go. But currently, Instagram is a place to see most of my current work. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's awesome. So if you guys haven't checked it out yet, you know, go over to Chris's page. Check it out. It's really cool. I mean, he has all different things going on. Again, some of the pictures that we've shown you guys here, a lot of other stuff as well with other different actors and actresses, things like that. So before we go though, what I want to do is I have sort of like a little quick questions. Nothing crazy, but
That's what you got.
some of the things that you know, I always try to do with everybody that comes on here. So, and I know you sort of answered one of them beforehand, but your favorite Star Wars movie?
I'm going to go with A New Hope for the reasons given earlier, just because it was the gateway to the story, to the characters, to the journey I'm still on today.
Awesome. And I have an idea. I know with this question as well. Your favorite character?
Well, I'm partial to droids. Partial to droids. He's something else.
That's awesome. So, Clone Wars, Bad Batch, or Rebels?
Bad Batch.
Okay.
Bad Batch.
Very cool.
Just digging the final season. It's awesome.
Yeah. And I think it's neat how at the end of Clone Wars, you know, they brought them in, you know, and then in season 7 there, and we're able to expand on it. And now we're in the 3rd season of that.
Yeah.
You know? And again, we're learning more things about both sides,
Yeah.
you know, which
like
is really cool.
For me, like the whole Star Wars journey is a journey. It's you're going down various paths or various offshoots, and you get to enjoy a story this way or a story that way, but it's all part of the same family. It all has the same origins, and it's a great ride. It's been a great ride. I'm thankful for Dave, thankful for John for continuing that and keeping my childhood alive for so long.
Yeah, it's really cool. Rogue One or Solo?
Rogue One. Okay. Rogue One. Yeah, Rogue One really got me. It really did. Even my son, who is not necessarily the biggest Star Wars fan, he was like at the end, he just couldn't believe it. He was devastated. So
yeah. Well, that's why I went with my wife, and I was like, you know, don't get used to any of these characters. There's only one guy in black that you're ever going to see.
Yeah, don't get too attached.
Right.
Which is why it makes Andor so great, because he gets some of that backstory to his life, which is amazing.
Yeah, and even more into the rebellion, you know, which is cool. Yeah. You know, we get to see, you know, a little bit more of Mon Mothma and you know, some of these other, you know, characters that we haven't seen before, and some of the ones that we have seen, you know, and I think it's neat how they've brought them to life, you know, again.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, 20 years, 40 years later, you know, for us, which is really cool. So, and I think you're doing a great job by keeping this alive as well. Again,
thank you so much, Ron.
Your droids are so cool. You know, keep doing what you're doing, and I can't wait to see IG-88. And so, what are you going to make this 3PO into?
Triple Zero. He's going to be the evil protocol droid. He's kind of an assassin droid, so he'll
Okay.
mix things up a little bit. Hey, but before we go, I want to thank
Yes.
you, Ron, for a couple things. One, for having me on today was awesome. Great, I had a great time. Two, but thank you for sharing your Star Wars story and making your Star Wars story public and sharing your passion, your enthusiasm, and inviting like-minded folks on your show to again, you're furthering that Star Wars universe as well. And kudos to you, sir, for doing that.
Well, thank you. And again, it's just, man, and I know we could sit here and talk for hours and hours about this,
Absolutely.
but again, it's my passion. It's fun to have people on here, and that's why I did it, to have people like yourself on here that are like-minded, and we can talk about this, and we can geek out about it,
Absolutely.
and nerd out about it, because
Absolutely.
it is such a cool, universe that has just brought so much. And there's good and evil and beautiful stuff and ugly stuff, everything that we have in the world today.
Yeah.
But we can just sort of, like I said, just sort of sit back and watch it and not have to think
Yeah.
about anything else.
Absolutely. A little escapism today is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for the kind words. And
Of course.
again, I appreciate you coming on here. And hopefully we'll have you on here again. I'd love to bring you on when you have a couple of the other things done. And hopefully we'll run into each other at a celebration at some point, or some
I would
sort
love
of Comic-Con or something, along the way. So definitely we'll keep in touch. And thank you so much for being on here again, Chris.
Awesome. Thanks so much, John. I appreciate your time. Have a great rest of the day.
You got it. And until then, we'll see you on the next Star Wars Jedi Chat. And may the Force be with you. See you.